Well. I would love to tell you that this week would get better in regards to the energy going on in the sky, but it doesn't. We still are in a growth period, so we have a lot of shadow work to do in regards to ourselves and how we operate in society and our creativity. So of course we have Mercury still in retrograde, but we also have some major transits happening this week. Mars is entering the sign of Libra. Thank God it's leaving Virgo, so it is a little bit easier there. But it will be making an interaction with Neptune, Saturn, Pluto, and Uranus. I'll get into the specifics of that later on in the video. We also have a full moon in Aquarius, and we have the Lionsgate portal happening this week. So we have a lot to talk about, a lot of shadow work to do, a lot to uncover. So let's get into the astrology for this week ahead with the Cosmic Pour. Hello, how you guys doing? If you do not know, my name is Ronnie. I am one half of the collective Jupiter Jews, slash podcast Jupiter Jews, and we bring you insights when it comes to the stars above, tarot, spirituality, pop culture, all those things. Just to let you guys know, I do offer natal chart readings, so if you're interested in that, especially in regards to, gaining insight on your career, your love life, your life's purpose, wounds that you need to uncover from the past and how you can, break through those things or, just karmic cycle, I would love to help you with that. So if you are interested in learning more, definitely click the link in our description. So on Wednesday, August 6th, Mars will be leaving Virgo and entering the sign of Libra. Now, when Mars was in Virgo, it was on the South Node. So with it moving off the South Node, it definitely releases the pressure when it comes to, I would say, cynicism and being pessimistic in regards to, wherever it hits in your life. For me, it was like my career. And so just being very nitpicky and just overthinking things in regards to my career and how I move in life. So that's something that a lot of people was probably dealing with last week, just being very critical of yourself and how you operate in what area of life, wherever the Mars was sitting in your birth chart. So with the moving into Libra, it's a little bit less intense. Mars is a planet of action, war, fire, aggression, tension, just conflict, right? And so with it going into Libra, Libra is a little bit softer. Libra is all about justice, right, and right versus wrong, conflict resolution, right? With it being in the sign of Mars, Mars is wants to be confrontational. So with Libra in the sign of Mars, it could present as one way where a negative trait, and it really does show up when it comes to passive aggressiveness. You can see a lot of people with that placement be, not want to necessarily cause drama or just start something, but they do have that fire burning inside of them. Like, it's like not speaking what's on your mind. You know what I'm saying? Because for the sake of the collective, for the sake of peace, for the sake of just getting through it. But passive aggressiveness does not solve anything. It does not resolve anything. So that would be like the negative side of, Mars in Libra, quote unquote negative. And yeah, so that's some energy that we can see with this transit happening. So just watch out for that. Watch out for passive aggressiveness. Watch out for, because it can come across as quote unquote fake. And it's best to be real about things. It's best to set boundaries, with this, especially if you have this placement natally, or if this is your Mars return. Or if this is transiting a certain part of your chart. And I think about it like in regards to the home, like matters of the home, something, an issue is arising and, you may not feel, you may hesitate in addressing those issues in regards to the home, maybe getting something fixed or how the home operates when it comes to maybe your 10th house and, work. like maybe a colleague. You may interact with a colleague or something like that, and you may be afraid to, actually set a boundary or to speak up about something going on in the office. So just watch out for those behaviors and things like that. How this can present itself in a positive way is like, it's like fighting with a smile. You can be nice addressing someone, but also setting a boundary. It ain't got to be, a tit for tat thing. You can be firm in, what you require and, or like, whatever your boundary is or like what you need, but still also being fair about it. So this is a fairness type of placement, you know what I'm saying? And that can be a little confused, especially when the other people are involved. It can be confused as passive aggressiveness if you're not clear about it. So just don't be afraid. Definitely set your boundary, but you could be cool about it. I tell people, I was like, look, I don't consider myself a nice person, but I am kind. So it's like kind in the conflict resolution. So what this transit will, highlight for you is looking into your relationships and seeing if you're compromising too much, if it's not balanced, if the relationship is not fair, when it comes to, just how you guys operate. It's like, is someone taking on too much? Are you taking on too much compared to the other person and vice versa? And it's about balancing that and making, of course, life fair. Life isn't always fair, but we can make it as fair as we can, On August 8th, we actually have two aspects happening. So Mars will be trining Uranus in Gemini, and it will also be making a opposition to Saturn retrograde in Aries. So with Mars in Libra making that trine to Uranus in Gemini, it gives energy and support to saying yes more. Saying yes to things you would never in a million years probably say yes to. Just adding a little bit of spontaneity to your life. So stepping outside of your comfort zone. For example, I saw something on TikTok. This video on TikTok, it was called like a forceful day or a forced day. It definitely took me off guard. I'm like, forced? Excuse you? Anyway, but yeah, it's called a forced day. So basically what they did with this day, it's like a group of friends got together and basically they pushed each other to do something that was outside of their comfort zone that they always wanted to do. So one example was they forced a friend to get their passport they've always wanted to get. They forced a friend to clear out their inbox. Another example could be like forcing a friend to finish writing a song or, like paying off a credit card or starting a savings challenge or, opening a crypto wallet. I don't know. But whatever it is that, you probably thought about doing, weren't too sure of because it was outside of your comfort zone, that's something that you can definitely focus on doing during this time. Just being spontaneous, going with the flow. But also, with Mars opposing Saturn retrograde in Aries, it does give energy, basically saying like, it may not work out. You can't force things. It's not a forceful energy. So it's kind of like if it doesn't work out, just whatever, just pause. Because it's going to stop you in your tracks anyway. So, you have support to try new things, but it's also, you may be blocked from certain things or you may find those blockages, but also just don't get discouraged. I mean, things ain't going to work out. I know here in Atlanta, it's raining every day. You may want to go out and party, but you might need to stay in the house. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think it's probably like a stay in the house energy. So maybe your spontaneity can come from getting a passport or things that you can do at home or finally cleaning out that closet or, just giving support to things that you probably need to do, but you've been avoiding. I would say the positive side of Mars making that opposition to Saturn is that it could slow you down in order to help spark ideas, because we have Aries as fire sign, to help spark ideas that you probably never would have came across, or just new downloads that you can get, and that could probably add to or gain support from the energy of Mars making that trine to Uranus. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that spontaneity could come through through being slowed down, and then the ideas have room to come in. So I hope that makes sense. You know what I mean? I got a little, stuttery right there, but yeah, it's like slowing down with the aspect it's making to Saturn. Slowing down, I would even say being at home, having a journal, watching TV, watching YouTube, just really sitting with yourself, and then those spontaneous ideas have space to come through. So I hope that sounded a little bit better. Anyway, moving on. So on August 8th, we have the peak in the Lionsgate portal. So you may be wondering, what is a Lionsgate portal? So it's basically when the star Sirius comes together with the sun in Leo, the Orion's belt, and also the Earth. So basically, this is an alignment that just gives extra energy into manifesting. It's associated with divine wisdom, soul evolution, and higher consciousness. It invites courage, confidence. It's just an activation period. It's a time to release fear and lack, and also to usher in courage. And I think it is kind of cool that it is happening like a few hours before, like the day before the full moon in Aquarius, because full moons are all about releasing. I think the Lionsgate portal, I mean, it always happens on, it always peaks on August 8th, but for it to be happening, especially during this time, with all of these retrogrades and a lot of shadow work happening and a lot of growth is happening. This is also a 9-year. A lot of endings are happening, and we're ushering in a new chapter. So this is where the shadow work happens. It feels like, how like the full moon is like it's to release. I feel like this is a releasing year. So releasing the baggage that you've been holding on to for all this time, since the last 9-year. So that's over the last 10 years, right? But it's to usher in that courage. It's to become serious about, your creativity and your confidence and your power. And really, this is a good time because it's a little bit past the halfway mark, but it's a good time to really figure out what you want for yourself for the rest of the year and moving forward into next year, into that new chapter, into the 1 year, I think it's a very powerful time, something that you can do. You can set your intentions. So this is a great time. This is a great week to set intentions. This is a great week to release what's not working. This is a great week to really formulate who you really want to be and who you really want to become, and come up with a plan. So the Lionsgate portal, the peak is on the 8th. I will put on the video when the Lionsgate portal closes, because I don't really know off the top of my head right now. But yes, this is a good time. You don't just have to do it on the 8th. Maybe you could do like your intention setting and your rituals on the 9th. Because you have the power of, you still have the power of the Lionsgate portal, and you have the power of the full moon in Aquarius. So yeah, that's something to definitely look into. All right, so the full moon in Aquarius will have to do with your collective goals and your friendships, your community, a community check-in, and also like having to you may have to step away from that community and really figure out how you want to show up in that community. Maybe some boundaries you want to set, or reconfigure your friendships and reconfigure how you show up. And even that also shows how you show up for yourself. But yeah, I would just say during this time, just look at people pleasing, how you may need to let go of those negative traits. But this could also show how you may want to show up for your community more, and network more and connect with people more. And so you should journal and just see how you want to show up and like what you can handle to what capacity. I don't think it's a good idea to be completely isolated. Of course not, especially even if you're an introvert, whatever. You can still honor that, but still be a part of a collective and be a part of a community, and just figuring out what that looks like for you. Also on this day, Mars will be making a opposition to Neptune in Aries, and that planet is retrograde. So this is a sleepy time. Honestly, I don't even see, I would just say lay down, especially with the full moon action happening. This is a time to really retreat. This is a time to be at home. This is a time to, do your little rituals or whatever, but it don't have to be an all day thing, and just chill. And because you probably won't have the energy to really do much that day anyway. this is a time to invite a spiritual reset, because you know, you may feel the energy like, oh, I really need to go because of, you know, Mars, but it is in Libra, so it's about that balance. And then Neptune is a planet about, you know, it can bring a lot of confusion. And with you slowing down, it could invite a little bit more clarity when it comes to, you know, spiritual downloads, when it comes to, you know, how you want to show up and the action you do want to take. You know, sometimes the best action is inaction and stillness. So that's something to keep in mind for this Friday. All in all, this week is all about definitely doing more shadow work, conflict resolutions, really up tying up loose ends, resting, honoring your body, honoring yourself, honoring your boundaries, how you show up not only for yourself but in your communities. You don't have to be a people pleaser. You don't have to say yes all the time, but you could say yes to some things. And I think really the energy is like, especially if you're someone who always says yes to their collective or yes to their friends or yes to the other, maybe especially with the Mars trining Uranus, maybe it's more so saying yes to yourself, yes to rest, yes to self-love, self-care. That's what I'm getting from this week, especially with all this retrograde energy. A lot of us want to go, but I do feel the collective, at least the people that I know, is like, you know what, I'm going to honor not pushing it. I'm going to honor just going with the flow. I'm going to honor surrendering. So this is a week to surrender. Surrender to the shadow work, surrender to the self-love, surrender to just letting things be. And I feel like if you do that, you will have a decent week and you will definitely cover much needed ground when it comes to evolving and your growth. Other than that, I hope you really enjoyed this video and I hope you have a beautiful week. Thank you so much for tuning into the Cosmic 4 and you have a beautiful time. Bye.